My name is Julia, and in this video I will be demonstrating a plyometric training program for beginners. So just as a background for plyometric training, it focuses on power and it utilizes the muscle's elastic energy to increase the total force production. So for this training program, we're going to start with a warm-up, which includes a general warm-up, which is just a jog. Then we're going to go into some stretches to kind of prepare the muscles for the stretching that we're going to be doing during the plyometric exercises, as well as a specific warm-up, which includes a lot more of the mobility aspects. Then we'll go into the exercise portion, where we'll go over 6 modalities. Each modality will have 2 exercises. So we're going to do Olympic lifts, then upper and lower body plyometric training, agility training, and then quickness and readiness drills. Then we're going to finish it off with a cool down, which includes a jog and followed by some stretches. Throughout the video, I'll also be including some safety considerations for athletes to think about while doing the exercises, especially for beginners. Since we are doing a lot of stretching of the muscles to create that force production, it is really easy to get injured during plyometric exercises. So we want to make sure that we're executing these exercises as safely as possible. Before we jump right into it, I just want to mention footwear for plyometric training. All athletes should be wearing shoes that are non-slip, and for me demonstrating the exercises, I use some running shoes that I have where the soles are non-slip and kind of grippy, especially when we do the agility or quickness drills. It's really important to have these non-slip shoes in case we need to change directions and things like that, to avoid any injuries in like the ankles and things like that. We're going to begin with session 1, which is our warm-up. For our general warm-up, we are going to start with a 4-minute jog on the treadmill, and this is just to get our heart rates up and get us prepared for exercise. Next, we are going to do some mobility movements where we're going to use the PVC pipe, and then we are going to do some more specific exercises that will prepare us for the plyometric training. For that, we will be doing deadlifts and good mornings, and we'll be using a barbell to execute those. So starting us off, we are doing our 4-minute jog on a treadmill. This is 0 incline. I'm jogging at 5 miles per hour. It can be different for each athlete. It really just depends on the height and the stride length of the athlete and whatever is most comfortable for them. We want to emphasize to the athlete that this is a jog and not a run. We do want to get our heart rate up and get the blood flowing through the muscles to prepare them for exercise, but we want to be cautious about depleting our energy sources. So for the warm-up, we really just want to use up the phosphorus system and preserve the rest of our energy systems for all of the powerful movements that we're going to be doing for the rest of the training. Now I'm going to perform some very light stretching. I'm holding all of these stretches for only about 5 seconds. We don't want the muscles to start relaxing before we begin the training program. That could lead to injury, but we do want to make sure that the muscles are prepared and ready to stretch for plyometric training, since it relies very heavily on the elastic energy of the muscles to execute. I'm going to begin with the mobility portion of the warm-up, or as the textbook says, it's called the specific warm-up portion. This portion of the warm-up is intended to prepare the muscles that are going to be used in the exercises, almost like a primer, you could say. It really just gets those specific muscles ready for the movements that we're going to be doing later on. We want to put the shoulders through the full range of motion and get them ready to undergo stress, especially for the Olympic lifts and the upper body plyometric portion of the training. I did arm circles in both directions for 30 seconds. Next, we're going to grab the PVC pipe, and similar to what we did with the arm circles, we're going to get the shoulders through the full range of motion. So you can see here I'm doing double arm swings back and forth, and then next I'm going to do single arms just to make sure that they're all nice and stretched, that the joint is ready to undergo stress. And I did this for 1 minute. Now I'm continuing with bodyweight squats, and I did 10 repetitions. Next, I'm going to do some deadlifts with just a barbell and no extra weights. I did this for 10 repetitions. And lastly, I did good mornings with just a barbell and no extra weights, and I did this for 10 repetitions as well. For session 2, we're going to be doing exercises that will help beginner athletes perform the Olympic snatch. So for this, they can either use a barbell with the barbell collars if they add extra weights, or they can use a straight rubber fixed barbell. I use this in my demonstrations, or if it's easier for some of the exercises, they can also use dumbbells. For the first exercise, we're going to do barbell front raises, but we're going to do a wide pronated grip to mimic how you'd hold the barbell doing the Olympic snatch. I did this for 10 repetitions. Next, we're going to maintain the same wide pronated grip, but we're going to mimic more of the motion of flicking our wrists up during the snatch, like right before we press up. And lastly, we're going to do some wide grip shoulder presses. And I did this for 10 repetitions. Next, we're going to do full squats. And just like the last one, athletes can do 6 to 10 repetitions. For this, I did 10 repetitions. For the last bit here, we're going to do the full execution of the Olympic snatch. I'm going to do 3 repetitions, and for the purpose of this demonstration, I didn't really do any significant rest, but typically athletes should aim to rest for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. For session 3, we are going to do exercises that will help athletes learn how to do the Olympic clean and jerk. So all of the equipment is the same as the previous session with the Olympic snatch. The only difference in the exercise is the grip, really, because the grip is going to be more neutral and closer together than how we had for the last session. First, we're going to do barbell front raises with a shoulder width grip, and I did this for 10 repetitions. For session 4, we're going to do lower body plyometrics. So for the equipment, we'll just need jump boxes. For the 2 exercises, we'll be doing depth jumps and just regular jumps without any equipment. There are some safety precautions that should be considered when doing these exercises. For one thing, the recommended height for depth jumps is 16 to 42 inches. In the video, I'm doing 24 inches. Athletes who weigh over 220 pounds should not perform depth jumps from heights greater than 18 inches or 46 centimeters. It could almost go without saying that the weight will cause too much force and pressure on the knee and ankle joints and lead to injury. Furthermore, there is a proper landing form, which I will demonstrate in the next slide. So this is the proper landing form with the knees over the toes without inverting the knees. So we don't want the knees to go inwards towards each other. For the first variation of depth jumps, we are just going to do the traditional ones where you fall off the surface, and then as soon as you're feet touch the ground, you jump up to see how high you can get. And I did this for 5 repetitions. For the second variation of this exercise, we're going to do depth jumps with a standing long jump. So instead of jumping straight up, the athlete will jump forward and try to get as much distance as possible. I did this for 5 repetitions. The last variation of this exercise is going to be a depth jump to a second box. So the athlete will jump from the first box and then jump up to land on the second box. And I did this for 5 repetitions. In the first variation of this exercise, we are just going to do double leg tuck jumps, and I did this for 5 repetitions. For the next variation, we're going to do single leg tuck jumps. For both sides, we're going to do 5 repetitions. And for the last variation, we're going to do double leg vertical jumps. I did this for 5 repetitions, trying to get as high as I could. For session 5, we're going to go into upper body plyometrics. For exercise 1, we'll do medicine ball throws, and for exercise 2, we'll do medicine ball chest passes. So of course for the equipment, we'll need a medicine ball, and because I had to do these exercises indoors on a hardwood floor, I used an exercise mat to catch the ball when I threw it. In order to avoid damaging any equipment or the floor of the studio, I also used 2 different kinds of medicine balls, as I'll show in the next few clips. I used one that was really hard and easy to throw, and then I used another that was a little bit squishier and could absorb a lot more of the impact. Here's the first medicine ball that I was talking about. It's really hard and it holds its shape and it'll likely bounce if I threw it on the floor. For the first variation, we're going to do laying chest passes. I did this for 5 repetitions, just throwing the medicine ball straight up from my chest so that I can catch it. I would just advise that athletes do not use very heavy weights for this in case it does fall on the athlete. Here I'm just showing the different medicine ball that I used for the next 2 variations of the medicine ball chest passes, and I just used this so that it wouldn't roll everywhere or cause damage to the floors of the studio. For the second variation, we're doing standing chest passes. I did this for 5 repetitions, and I threw the medicine ball to an exercise mat just to absorb some of the weight of the ball. For the last variation, we're doing kneeling chest passes. I did this for 5 repetitions. We're going to need 2 of the exercise mats, 1 for the knee and 1 to catch the medicine ball. For the first variation of our medicine ball throws, I'm going to do a double-handed over the head throw. I did this for 5 repetitions. Now we're going to do two-handed side-to-side throws. So as you can see, I put the ball to one side of my head and I throw it kind of at an angle like that. But I did 5 repetitions for each side. For our last variation of this exercise, we're going to do single-handed throws. And I did 3 repetitions for each side. For session 6, we're going to do agility ladder, lower body agility drills, and of course we're going to need an agility ladder. Please keep in mind this is my first time using an agility ladder or doing these drills, so it does look a little bit silly, but for the purpose of this video, I did do demonstrations of different variations of agility drills. In these agility drills, the goal for the athlete is to step through the ladder in whatever drill it is as quickly as they can. For our first variation, we're doing forward steps. I did this back and forth to equal 1 repetition, so I did 2 repetitions of this exercise. For the second variation, we are going to do side steps. And once again, I did this for 2 repetitions, both forward and back. Lastly, we're going to do in and out steps, and I did this for 2 repetitions. First, we are going to do bunny hops, and I did this for 2 repetitions. We're just gonna simply hop through each of the squares. For the next variation, we're going to do straddle hops, and basically the athlete will step with both feet inside of the square, and then they'll step out with both feet outside of the ladder. And I did this for 2 repetitions. Last, we're going to do twist hops. So the athlete will step forward with both feet in the ladder or in the same square, and then they'll turn and have each foot in 2 separate ladders, put them together, and then repeat all the way down the line. And I did this for 2 repetitions. For session 7, we're going to do quickness and readiness drills. For the equipment, we'll need a tennis ball and an exercise partner. For these drills, it's important to make sure that the athlete has a lot of space to slow down their run and also enough space to perform the exercise in general. It's also important to be aware of what surfaces that you're doing these drills on. Turf or rubber flooring is recommended. You don't want to do this on hardwood floor because that would cause injury to the athlete's joints. For these drills specifically, the athlete and the partner will be about 5 yards away, so I'd say the athlete would need maybe 8 to 10 yards of area to work with. So like I said, the athlete and the partner will be about 5 yards apart, and the partner will toss up the ball. It will hit the ground once, and then when it bounces up, the athlete has to catch the ball before it reaches the ground again. For this variation, we're doing a standing start and we're facing linear, so towards the partner, and I did this for 3 repetitions for both sides. Next, we're going to do the same thing with a kneeling start. So 3 repetitions for both sides. For our last variation, we're doing a backward start, and the job of the partner now has to be to tell the athlete when they're tossing the ball. So they can say go or now, and then the athlete has to go catch the ball. Now we're going to do lateral starts. So the athlete will face perpendicular to the partner. And for this variation, we're doing a standing start with 3 repetitions for both sides. Now for this variation, we're doing a kneeling start, still staying in that lateral direction, and I did 3 repetitions for both sides. For this last variation, we're doing a skate hop away from the partner and then sprinting to the ball. So I kind of slowed it down so that you can see I stepped away and then I ran to the ball. I did this for 3 repetitions for both sides. For session 8, we're going into the cool down and stretch. So for the equipment, we'll need a treadmill, a foam roller, exercise mat, and a timer. We're going to start it with a slow jog. It's going to be slower than the one that we did for the warm-up. It's going to be about 4 minutes. And then we're going to do some foam rolling of the muscles and then some stretches, almost like a yoga flow. We're going to use a timer to try to get equal stretches on both sides, whether it's the right or left leg or the right or left arm. For the general cool down, I'm doing another 4-minute jog on the treadmill. This is still 0 incline, but I'm going at a slower speed than the warm up. I'm going at 4.8 miles per hour instead of the 5, just to cool down the body. After the jog, I would also recommend the athlete do a few walking laps to really bring the body back down to how we started in the beginning, before the training program started. We're going to start this segment with back foam rolling. I did this for 1 minute for about 30 seconds. I just went along the spine and the center of the back. To finish off this minute, I'm turning to my side and pronating my extended arm, and I'm going to roll out the lats. Next, we're going to foam roll the calves. So place both calves on the roller and then cross one calf over the other to add some weight, and then roll out for 30 seconds on both sides. The last thing we're going to do with the foam roller is roll out our hamstrings. So similar to rolling out our calves, we're going to cross over our legs to add some weight on the leg that's being worked on, and we're going to do this for 30 seconds on both sides. For the stretches, we're going to start with a static squat stretch. I started with a wide squat, and then I went into a narrow squat and used my elbows to push out my knees and get a little bit of a deeper stretch. In this following sequence, I'm going to do a lunging groin stretch, kneeling hamstring stretch, kneeling quad stretch, and also a calf stretch. I did each of these for about 30 seconds. I wasn't really timing, but I just did my best to make sure that it was equal for both sides. Next, we're going to lay down in the prone position and extend one arm, and then with the other arm, push off the ground, and we're going to stretch our chest. I did this for 30 seconds on both sides. Lastly, we're going to finish it out with a cobra stretch and a few seconds in the child's pose.